Wait till I get my money right.
I have a Patek, two Pateks.
Nice. I've never heard of that timepiece before. Welcome back, guys, to episode 2 of Best and Worst of What's on Your Wrist. The series where I go around asking random strangers what timepiece they're wearing on their wrist, along with some other watch-related questions. And I'm also going to ask them questions just to help us get to know them a little bit. In this episode, in this mini series, I'm going to let you guys know the timepieces, but also the collectors that stood out to me. It's not so much all about the timepiece, guys. It's about the interaction and the passion when it comes to these collectors that I meet out here. More and more, I'm going to improve on my interviews to where it's not so much, like I say, highlighting the watch, but it's to really see what's behind the collector and what's the reason why they collect these timepieces and what's their end goal, their journey overall. So guys, I have my coffee here. I definitely need it today, especially to get this video done. So join me, give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into it. Now, some of these interviews, you may have seen these people a little bit reserved, not speaking too much, and shy overall. But you have to understand, these people are getting stopped on the spot, being asked random questions. They don't know what type of questions sometimes I'm going to ask them. So they're a little reserved. But it's me. I'm the one that's honestly seeing behind the scenes how when I take the camera off, the interactions that we have. Some of these people, I speak to them like 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes after the interview, sometimes even prior, before the interview, just to get to know them a little bit. So I'm just going to let you guys know some of the behind the scenes and the interactions that I've had with these people, and to let you guys know that these are honestly some good collectors. They're really passionate, but sometimes it doesn't come across while I'm interviewing them with the camera. Anyways, let's get into the first person, and it's Alex from Miami with the Seiko Pro Spec. Guys, he stood out to me, first of all, because of the watch he had on his wrist. Now, the behind the scenes story on Alex is that he spotted me before I spotted him, or we almost spotted each other at the same time. On top of that, I'm going to ask them questions just to help us get to know them a little bit and have them give us one piece of advice. Remember, guys, to comment down below your favorite timepiece that we spot out here today. Give the video a thumbs up. And that's one of the reasons why, guys, I wear sunglasses, because that's one of the way that you could spot watches and not look creepy. So I was doing an interview walking, and his wife and his daughter was going the other way. I caught him while he was turning around, him and his wife. I guess they saw my videos before. And after I did the intro, he approached me and was like, yeah, I seen your videos, yada, yada. So I was like, all right, well, you stopped me. Let's do an interview. I love your watch. I spotted you. I spotted your watch. I told him I spotted your watch while I was doing the intro. So let's just do it. You can see he was a little bit nervous because I caught him off guard. He wasn't expecting for me to actually want to do an interview, because he didn't feel like his Seiko was worthy of being on the channel, being on one of my videos. But I had to convince him. I had to tell him, like, look, this is a beautiful timepiece. Seiko is a respected brand. They make amazing timepieces, and we have to do an interview, especially because you spotted me. So let's do it. So he was a little bit nervous, but we got the video done. He told me that he collects Seikos mostly. And the thing that stood out to me is that the Seikos that he collects are mostly to mark specific milestones. So when he bought a house, I believe, was one of the reasons. I think the birth of his child was another reason.
I have a collection of Seikos at the moment. I love Seikos. For every milestone in my life, when I bought my house, when we had our daughter, I get a Seiko to kind of, remember that time, a period of my life.
So things like that stood out to me, and that's another reason why I had to highlight him in the best category. Beautiful piece, like I said, the Seiko Pro Spec, nicknamed the Panda. It's a timepiece that if you can't afford, let's say, the Rolex Daytona Panda, it's a great choice, alternative, before stepping into maybe an actual Rolex Daytona Panda. But anyways, yeah, his piece stood out to me, and it's beautiful. A lot of these timepieces, guys, in person is where you have to see them. My videos, or just videos in general, doesn't do these timepieces justice. A lot of these timepieces, I admonish you guys, and I recommend you guys to go see it in person. Number 2 on my list is Valerie from Colombia. And she was wearing her Cartier Santos in steel with the leather strap. Guys, not only was it the timepiece on her wrist that stood out to me, but more so it was the reasons why she collect watches and also her as a person. Guys, I'm someone that I come across a lot of people on a daily basis, right? And there's some people that just radiate positivity, happiness, and I don't know how else to explain it, but when I came across her, she was just pleasant. And it's just something about some people, guys, that you just can't really understand why, but she was just an amazing person. We spoke off camera, I think for like 15, 20 minutes after the interview. And she was just telling me about different things, her travels, and even her daughter that was next to her was, you could tell when somebody raises their child well. She was engaged in the conversation. You could tell when somebody's bright. You could tell when you come across a bright, smart child. And yeah, she's definitely going to have a bright future ahead of her. And I'm sure she's going to be a Cartier collector just like her mom. But anyways, Valerie stood out to me for those reasons. She seems to be a Cartier collector, I would say. And it's the reason why she collects Cartier that stood out as well.
I've been having Santos since I'm a little girl. My mom used to be a fan of them, and that's all she had. So I was born basically with that tradition with her for watches.
She said growing up, her mother always wore Cartier timepieces. And that's another thing that stands out as far as, people becoming collectors. It's because they see timepieces on someone's wrist, in most cases, their dad or their mother, and then eventually over time, it becomes like embedded in their mind that a timepiece needs to be on their wrist, and specifically the same type, whether it's a Rolex Datejust, a Rolex Date 8, Cartier, Omega, whatever, Seiko, they end up wanting to wear these watches as well, or a watch in general. So her first watch was gifted to her from her mom, which was, I believe, she said was a Cartier Santos, and I think it was a two-tone. From that point on, the bug hit her. So when it comes to collecting watches, guys, it's not just men. A lot of women get, hit with the bug, and they collect as well. And yeah, I love it. I love her passion. I love her personality. She just radiated positivity, and it was just amazing to come across her. She has a wealth of knowledge, not just when it comes to watches, but just in life in general. And yeah, she just has some great stories. I'll keep them to myself. I don't think I should share those with you, but yeah, great person, great watch, and who knows? Hopefully, I'll come across her again. So those were two that were in the best category. Let me just get the worst, which was the only one, out the way. And that is Enzo from, where was he? Paris? So, I don't know. He speaks French, I think. And he had the Rolex Datejust 41. And the reason why he's in the worst category is, guys, because to me, something seems off with the watch. We need to understand that nowadays, super clones and the real things are like one of one. It's hard to distinguish which one's real, which one's fake. Sometimes you have to really go under a microscope, open up the case back to really see if a watch is real or not. Now, I don't want to confirm and say, hey, he's wearing a super clone, but something's off with it. And I think in my videos, calling someone out to having a super clone or a fake watch, not to take it as an insult, but maybe these people really don't know that they're wearing a super clone. And when they see the video back, from the comments and, having so many people say, hey, something seems off, maybe it's going to be a reason for them to take it into a watchmaker and have it, looked over properly so that they can know whether or not they have a real or fake. So when it comes to highlighting some of these timepieces and calling it worse, it's not to really, make fun of, or to insult someone, but sometimes maybe some of these people don't know that they have super clones. Because I don't think a person would put themselves on camera, well, most people would put themselves on camera knowing that they have a super clone and thousands of people are going to see and call them out, so it's just like, maybe he doesn't know. So that's kind of messed up, knowing how much he must have paid for it, 9,000, 10,000, and who knows, it's a super clone. But this timepiece, I think, is a super clone based on the bezel. In my opinion, the bezel and the bracelet. those were the parts of the watch that really made me wonder.
Wait a minute, something ain't right.
Besides that, the dial, the magnification on the date seems okay to me. While I was interviewing him in person, it was hard for me to really focus in on the watch because he was, moving his hands a little bit. But in person, it looked real, especially from a distance. So I spotted it from afar, and I approached him, and I didn't really inspect it in person, but it's during the video while I'm editing is when I stop and I freeze for it, and I look at the watch a little bit, and yeah, something seems a little bit off, especially the bezel. Like I said, guys, the bezel is supposed to be 18 karat white gold, but it looks almost steel. And then when it comes to the bracelet, the end link and just the overall look of it, I guess the polish of it, the brush finish didn't look like a factory original Rolex Datejust. So yeah, even in the comment section, some of you guys, highlighted some of those, features about the timepiece, saying that something seems off about it. So yeah, comment down below and let me know if you guys still feel the same way, that it's a super clone. I would really call it a super clone, like not a fake. I kind of separate fake and super clones. Fake is like when you could just obviously see this watch is just trash. It's just fake. And a super clone is one where it's like, damn, one of one. And from, let's say, 6 feet, it's hard to distinguish if it's real or fake. But yeah, this is not to really bash Enzo, but it's just to say, hey, something seems off about your watch, and you might need to have it go checked to verify whether or not it's authentic or not, because a lot of people get scammed, guys.
He ain't lying.
It's real. A lot of people get scammed and they don't know that they have a fake watch because they think, oh, it came with box and card or box and papers, and automatically their mind get put at ease because they see those things. But that's not at all reason to distinguish a real from a fake. There's a lot of cards that are faked. It's easier to fake cards and papers than it is to fake the watches. So guys, keep an eye out there for, super clones. Now for number 4 under the best category is Alberto from Venezuela. Guys, he was wearing that beautiful green Oris. Now, when it comes to a timepiece like that, it's something that I wouldn't wear, especially on that green strap. It's a little bit too loud and too bright for me, but I'm someone that can appreciate all timepieces. That particular watch, I would wear it probably on a black rubber strap. But the thing that really stood out to me about the watch is the dial. That dial is something to see in person, like most watches, guys. When it comes to watching these videos and you guys are looking at these watches and thinking, wow, this is beautiful, guys, in person, times that by 2. In person, these timepieces, you have to see them. This Oris really stood out for that dial. Under the natural light, guys, that dial really stands out. And I've always liked Oris through videos and pictures, but after seeing it in person, it's something on my list of potentially having in the future. And another thing that stood out about this timepiece is the contrasting between the green, the black, and the gold. The gold accents on that watch, perfect. I would actually wear that watch, like I said, on a black rubber strap. Alberto was a cool guy. I really wanted to actually interview him because it's not so often that I come across an Oris, especially in Miami, as you guys know. Most of the timepieces that we come across, as you guys know, is Rolex, Datejust, Daytonas, GMTs. But if you guys really pay attention to my videos and watch most of my videos, you can see that I do come across pieces like these that you don't see often, and vintage. I've really been having my eyes out there for vintage because you guys know I prefer vintage over modern. But anyways, with Alberto, I loved the interview. I like that he highlighted the point where you don't have to buy a timepiece new at the AD or at the store, that you could actually buy it online for a fraction of the price. And he was transparent. He said that, hey, this Oris in the Oris store would be $5,000, but he was able to pick one up on eBay for around $3,000. So I don't know about you guys, but I like to save. So that's a good point, especially if you guys are looking for a timepiece. Sometimes you just have to do your homework, and make sure that you're getting an authentic piece. If you're going that route on eBay or on Chrono or Bezel or any other site, and you could actually get a deal. Okay, guys, now for number 5 on the list is Manny with the Rolex Datejust 1601. And I have to highlight the blue dial. When it comes to these Rolex watches, guys, blue dials are usually the more sought after color of dial. And it stands out to me, especially because he had a pie pan dial. I don't know, again, like in the video, how it comes across. But guys, when it comes to vintage timepieces, vintage dials, vintage cases, and the overall aging and patina of a vintage watch, it's like no other, especially with the acrylic crystal, the Hesalite crystal, whatever you want to call it, plastic crystal. It's completely different than a sapphire crystal. It just stands out way more. And that stood out to me when it comes to his timepiece. And you guys know I'm the Datejust guy. I love Rolex Datejust. A Rolex Datejust was my first like high-end luxury watch. I've actually owned almost every Rolex Datejust you could think of, variation. I even had the same watch that he had. I've had 3 blue dial, 4-digit, 5-digit references, the 2 tones, tapestry dials, champagne dials. I've had them all. So seeing a vintage Datejust, I had to approach. And he was a cool guy. He was definitely, it seemed knowledgeable on watches. It seemed that the timepieces that he liked, that stood out to him, he did his research and he was passionate about it. And also, I could tell that he focused mostly on vintage because he did say that he prefers smaller watches. Even the next timepiece he's looking for is a Speedy. He would prefer the Speedy Reduced because it's a little bit smaller than the Speedmaster Professional, which I was kind of trying to push him towards getting a Speedmaster Professional because I think his wrist size, it would look vintage, especially if he gets a vintage Speedy, because there's vintage Speedies that's circa 60s, 70s, 80s that would look great on his wrist with the Hesalite crystal, plastic crystal. So yeah, he stood out to me. Great collector. The timepieces that he's going after are amazing. And you could see his passion again coming across the camera. Even though he was put on the spot like most people, he definitely was able to express himself and let me know that, hey, he loved his timepiece. He was able to let me know that I had a Singer dial. For you guys who may wonder what's a Singer dial, I kind of put it in the video. A Singer dial is pretty much a dial that was manufactured back then, so mostly vintage timepieces have them. They were a third-party contractor that Rolex hired to make their dials back then. So the way to determine or distinguish a Singer dial is to look behind the dial, and you'll see the Singer stamp and the Singer logo. So the fact that he knew that he had a Singer dial, I think, was pretty cool. So most likely he had the watch open up and they let him know that it was a Singer dial. So that's pretty cool. Beautiful watch. And yeah, great collector. All right, guys, now for number 6, Alex. Alex, that was double wristing it. He had the JLC Polaris and the Omega World Timer. 2 timepieces, guys, that you don't see in Miami often, or just in general. So I had to, guys, if you see someone wearing 2 watches, you have to stop that person. So when I saw the JLC at a distance, I thought it was a vintage watch based on the color and the way the light hits it. Trust me, if you saw it in person, you'll think the same thing. So I had to go in for a closer look, and then I spotted the other one. I saw, okay, yeah, that's an Omega. I know the Omega World Timer. I love Omega. The JLC, I'm not so familiar with JLC. The only JLC that I've really given my attention is the Reverso, like most people. But yeah, it was good to see this timepiece in person. And 2 beautiful pieces that you could spend an hour just admiring the dial for both of these timepieces, the World Timer and the Polaris. The dials just have so much going on, but not too much to where it's like loud and overbearing. But of course, with the World Timer, there's a lot of things to look at. It's a World Timer, so it has different locations, and in the center you have the world. So beautiful dials. These timepieces really stood out to me for the dials, and of course the movement, especially the Omega World Timer. It's a complicated movement, and it's one of Omega's top pieces. So Alex stood out to me, of course, like I said, because He had amazing pieces on his wrist that you won't see too many people wearing. So that just told me that this guy's a real collector. He's not just going after hyped pieces. He has brands that are solid, high quality brands. Some, honestly, maybe better than some Rolexes, but he's wearing these watches, proud, knowledgeable on these watches, and he also gave great advice. He gave great advice. I asked him specifically because I seen this because of the watches that I saw on his wrist. I was like, okay, I got to ask him a watch related question at the end as far as the advice. And I think he was pretty much saying that not to go after the hype.
Well, absolutely buy what you like. Don't worry so much about value retention and buy secondary market in a lot of cases, because if you buy new from the AD, you're just going to take a massive depreciation hit right away. People are more obsessed with is Rolex going to increase in value? Is it easy to resell? If you get a good deal on the piece you like and you buy it pre-owned at secondary market pricing, you're not going to get slaughtered on it, and you're going to enjoy it. Get something more exclusive. Everyone's got a Rolex around here. Something like this is just more interesting and exciting, especially to those who know.
A lot of people, especially in Miami, you'll see them wearing a Rolex. So go after something different. And he was pretty much practicing what he preached. He's pretty much wearing watches that you won't see often. I'm sure he may have a Rolex, but at the same time, he's wearing other pieces that are unique. So yeah, knowledgeable, passionate, unique pieces on his wrist. Alex definitely maybe number one on the list as far as of recent, that really stood out. Last but not least, Odette from Cuba. She was wearing the Cartier Panthère. And what stood out to me, of course, is the watch, but also, guys, some people in person, I don't know if it came across on camera, but some people just have a level of enthusiasm, and you can see the passion and lightness about them. And that's what she had, great energy. And it was great to interview her. A lot of people, guys, not because you didn't get on this list is not because you don't have or these qualities, but I just had to choose some people. And for her, she was wearing her Cartier Panthère that was gifted to her on her 18th birthday. And like I always say, guys, Cartier is a great watch for ladies, especially the smaller cases. They're very elegant. And the point that she mentioned that that's the reason why she, loved Cartier, is because of the design, because it's elegant and some other things. But it's a beautiful piece with the factory diamond bezel, perfect size for her wrist. She didn't know much, but you could tell that it'll grow as time goes on in her journey. She'll, get more knowledgeable on watches and timepieces. I think my interview with her is going to help her see oh, wow, I didn't know what model, this timepiece is. Maybe I should look into it a little bit more. So hopefully that's, what my interview helped her, in the future, that she's going to actually try to see what model and references that she's, purchasing or receiving as a gift. She said that the next timepiece that she wants is another Cartier Panthère in two-tone. And yeah, I asked her if she's going after these watches for the design or the movement. And she said movement, but I don't think it was much so the movement. I think she just was kind of, nervous and on the spot. And she said movement, but we all know what Cartier is all about, design. But yeah, amazing person, great energy, nice timepiece, beautiful timepiece to have on her wrist. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. You could comment down below any other timepiece you guys may have remembered from these episodes. I can't make this video too long. I'm sure it's already a long video. I got to do a lot of editing. But yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to do these videos so you guys could actually get a little brief synopsis of what's going on behind the scenes and have me speak a little bit on the timepiece, because sometimes in the interviews, I don't really express too much of my views and opinion when it comes to the watch, because I don't want to be judgy when it comes to being there with the person in front of me. I want them to hopefully feel relaxed and talk about their watch and, you know, be engaged. But I'm going to do more of these over time as I do my interviews. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Comment down below, and guys, stay tuned for the next episode.